Hey everyone, welcome to How the Right 20% of Operations Unlocks 80% of your team's results. My name is Emily Baker. I'm a MAPS executive coach, and today I'm so excited because I have the privilege of having one of my clients, Athea. We've worked together for just over 4 years now. Time
Yeah, 4.5. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are going to dive directly into how Athea got to where she's at. And yet, first, Athea, tell everyone a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're at, and what we're going to talk about today.
Sure. So my name is Athea Morris. I am the Director of Operations for Papasan Properties Group. I've been with the team for, let's say, it'll be 6 years in March. Um, yeah, and I'm really excited to share with you today. We're going to be going over how ops can unlock the 20%, like figuring out what your right 20% is. Um, so yeah, that's what we'll be going over today.
Awesome. Okay. So let's kick off first. If we go to the next slide, as always, folks, I'm sure we've heard this a lot, and yet, friendly reminder, we want to respect the TCPA and the DNC in your businesses. And if we go to the next slide, we're going to kick this off. So, Athea, a lot of operation roles can feel pretty chaotic, right? They feel like
Mhm.
sometimes I hear that all the time, right? I'm sure you hear that all the time too. Like you felt that way, right? Like you can never play up and catch up to the offensive play. What are
Mhm.
the biggest challenges that you've had to overcome in order to get to your 20%?
Yeah, that's a great question. Joining the team, I had to overcome a lot of different things. Our A lot of it was some like miscommunication, not understanding what my job was versus what my rainmaker was expecting of me. There was a lot of burnout because a lot of things just got kind of piled on, and I wasn't really sure what I was supposed to do. So I was just taking on a lot of different things. And so I was really just trying to like catch up and do all these like mundane tasks, you could say. And it felt like I was never enough. I was never doing enough. And I was always behind.
Yeah, surely no one on this call has ever felt that way, right? Okay. So if we go to the next slide, what we're going to dive into is really what that 20% is and how you have got there. So, Athea, as a director of operations for a significantly large team, I mean, you guys do, a lot of volume, you do a lot
hmm
of actions, you have a lot of players. What have you learned is your 20% as a director of operations?
Yeah, Emily, it took me a long time to figure this out and a lot of frustrating calls with you. But it really boils down to three different things, and that's people, profit, and processes. And those three words live on the top of my 411 now.
Okay, so let's dive into that. So,
hmm
people, what
Yep.
does that mean?
Yeah, so the people is it's a large thing, or it's kind of a vague term. So organizational design and role clarity is a big part of that. So clear job descriptions, defining who does what on the team, the hiring and onboarding system. So being part of the career visioning process and really having very structured onboarding plans with 30, 60, 90s in place. Performance management, having very clear set KPIs for everyone for each role, leading and lagging indicators, 411s for accountability. And then the last one for me is the culture and communication, right? So it's making sure our vision is in action. We're holding our values, making sure our values are in action as well, conflict resolution, feedback loops between all team members, and then just meeting cadences as well.
Okay, so that's a lot. So,
Yes.
so the first thing that you said though, and I think this is where we've learned, right, that there's a lot of power and clarity around
hmm
clear job descriptions and defining what everyone's lane is, right? What
hmm
problems do they solve and how do we have those KPIs for each and 411? So, do you hold 411s with your operations team?
I do. I hold 411s with every operations member on our team. And then I have pipeline meetings, so not exactly 411s with our agents, but just that way I can help hold our agents accountable to also hitting their goals, which reflect the team's goals as well. And then I do also hold 411s for our ISA department.
Okay, so accountability is key.
Correct.
Okay. Let me ask you this because I think that this is sometimes where we can get lost is how do you like give me an example of key KPIs for operating roles?
Sure. A big one, and again, this took me a long time to figure out too, and a lot of frustrating conversations with you. But a big one is our reviews and getting referrals throughout the transaction process. So everyone knows that our operations team, transaction to close, they have to do their tasks, right? Well, they're gonna do their tasks regardless because that's their job. But how can we hold them accountable to also holding um yeah, I guess to a different KPI standard as well. But it would be the reviews and the referrals. So we ask for 10 reviews a month because that's pretty much 80% of our closings, and then 50% of our referrals, 50% of our transactions should have a referral throughout the transaction as well. So those are the two big ones for our ops people.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I love that. And then, so that's people. So, what I'm hearing you say to tie a bow is getting clear on the job description. What's their 20%, right?
Mhm.
The KPIs that we're holding them accountable to, and then having that cadence of weekly accountability through a 411 structure.
Yes.
Okay, love it. All right, you mentioned profit. Walk me
Mhm.
through that.
Yeah. So again, kind of a vague term, but there's a lot that goes into it. So financial visibility is a huge one. So P&L monthly reviews, expense tracking, commission structures, budgeting and forecasting. So the annual operating budget, cash flow forecasting, cost control. So are you vendor negotiations, lead generation ROI, marketing spend effectiveness kind of ties into the lead gen ROI, and then really just understanding your cost per transaction, and then the profit per agent, and then profit per lead source, which again, those do tie in, some of those tie into the lead gen ROI.
Yeah, so financials is a big one, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we find that rainmakers like to spend money.
Mhm. Yes.
So, how do you navigate those conversations when it comes to tracking and like a lead generation ROI, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I meet with my rainmaker specific for the financials is once a month. We go over the P&L. I kind of let her know exactly where we are, what's going on, and then we go through all of the ROI as well. So what leads have come in, what have we spent? And that's on a monthly basis, but then we also do quarterly and annually. So when we're building out our GPS for the next year, we already know where we've been this year and last year and the year before on that particular lead source. So we can make those decisions ahead of time on how we're going to change our GPS strategy for new lead sources, or keeping certain lead sources, or different marketing tactics and things like that. But it's just a lot of open conversations. And it's my responsibility to bring those numbers to her as well as suggestions.
I love that. So, what I'm hearing you say is you prepare, you bring the numbers so we can make educated decisions when it comes to financials. How long
Correct.
would you say it takes you a month to prepare for that meeting?
Mm, I'd say probably between 2.5 and 3 hours. For me specifically, I do go over every single expense, every single transaction that's happened on our P&L, and I categorize them. Even if it's stamps, what stamps were those purchased for that lead gen source. So I'm pretty detailed with it. So I do spend a lot of time, and then having to do that, then I have to analyze the data. And so I take a step back and look at all of the numbers and then come up with, hey, I think we should do this or we should try something different. Or don't touch it. We've only been doing it 6 months. Give me another 6 months. So that does take a little bit of time, but about 2.5 to 3 hours once a month.
Okay. So what I'm hearing you say for everyone taking away on this call, right, is time block,
Yeah.
financial, such that you can really have that visibility on return on investment, who are vendor partners that can offset and partner, because you also run a lot of events, right? And on your,
Hmm.
and you also have a referral program for your VIPs that you run.
We do. Yeah. A big one that we really put into effect this year, we've been doing it for a number of years, but really focused on it this year was the strategic partnerships. And we've actually made money on our events this year as opposed to spending money on our events because of the partnerships we have with our vendors. That was actually kind of exciting.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So looking at who are the vendors that benefit from the real estate transactions, right? Who benefits when we take more listings, right? If we're doing staging, photography, right? Those kind of things. Who benefits when we close more buyers, right? Or convert more buyers? Who benefits during the contract to close process, and who can help offset those expenses?
Hmm.
Love that. Okay. Processes.
Yes. That's also a pretty lengthy one. So the end-to-end workflows, from the lead to appointment to under contract to close and the client experience, managing the listing and buyer processes. Our team also does tenants and landlords, so it's just making sure that those processes are in place too. Documentation and SOPs, so making sure we have very clear SOPs for everything. We have playbooks, checklists, templates, and making sure that those are updated accordingly. Technology implementation, so CRM setup and enforcement of using the CRM, automations and integrations, and then continuous improvement for all of that. So if there's anything like bottlenecking processes, making sure you're auditing all of your processes, and then just getting continuous feedback from both your agents and your ops team of what is and what is not working.
Yeah. I'm curious, from your perspective, what are the processes that you have streamlined and put into place that have had the biggest impact from a production standpoint?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest ones is starting from the very beginning. It's the lead set, like the appointment. Our agents just kind of used to go on their own appointments and not tell us, but our team actually preps all of your listing docs and the buyer representation agreements. And so we can't do that if we don't actually know that you have an appointment. So the agents were having to do all of that themselves. And that's not their 20%, right? Creating documentation. So that's been a huge one. That's really allowed our agents to be in their 20% because then they can lead gen, they can focus on what they're good at. They set their appointments, and then on the back end, ops creates their docs for them. And it's worked really, really well.
Yeah, so if any of you have had, challenges with chasing your agent or your agents, plural, down, right? Really setting that leading indicator so we can get clear on those conversions, because what has the conversions helped your team see,
Mhm.
like from a visibility standpoint?
Yeah, it was, I think this year was the biggest aha our team has had. So I'm kind of the queen of data when it comes to our team. It's my favorite thing, the data tracking. So I've been able to show our agents we have all the leads we need to have. It's the conversion that we need to focus on. So our entire GPS this year is all based on conversion. But the only reason I was able to do that was because of the data that we receive and analyze together. And so when your agents are telling you, I don't have enough leads, I don't have enough leads, do we not have enough leads or is it a skill problem? And we were very clearly able to see it's a skill problem. We have plenty of leads, we're just not converting them. So it's helped us tremendously.
Yeah, I love that. So, Athea, if you were yourself, 5 years ago and you were on this call and you were listening, what are the questions that you want them to take away and write down to be clear on in regards to their 20%?
I think a big one is also figuring out what does your rainmaker think your 20% is, being in alignment with them. Because if you think your 20% is X and they think it's Y, and you guys are never in alignment, you're always going to be off and it's not going to work. So really thinking about what are your non-negotiables too? Like what do you absolutely have to do at the end of the day, or week or month or whatever? Um, and then again, your rainmaker. And then asking yourself if you're spending more time on tasks or if you're spending your time on leadership. Because if you are in a director of operations role, it's your responsibility to lead the business, not necessarily to do all of the tasks. And every DOO role is a little bit different. So you might actually have to do some of the transaction, to close stuff. And if that is the case, 100% that's part of your 20%. But it's still the leadership aspect of it as well. So are there things that you can take off your plate so you can take that next step of leadership? And then again, aligning it with definitely align it with your rainmaker.
Yeah. Yeah. And just for context, your rainmaker is the owner of your,
Yes.
so
Sorry.
it's the team owner. So that's who a rainmaker is. Okay, love it. So if we go to the next slide, let's go into streamlining systems and communication because this is a big one. I mean, operational minded individuals can sometimes be very different than sales minded individuals. Would you all agree on the call? Sometimes we just don't think the same, right?
Yes.
So, how do you get buy-in operationally from your sales team on process implementation?
Yeah, and that's a good question, and it was definitely a huge issue when I first joined the team. There was a mindset of us versus them, meaning sales versus operations, and that was the first thing I chose to work on and focus of. No, it's not an us versus them; it's a we. One cannot work without the other. Our salespeople can't flourish if they don't have ops, and ops can't function if we don't have, transactions coming in. So that getting people to work harmoniously was a big one. But then the other thing that's really helped me with getting our agents to buy in on new processes or changes is explaining the why behind the change. It's explaining the bigger picture, and then it's explaining how it's going to help them in their business produce more or succeed better. And if I have the ability to, I want to show them the data behind that. Sometimes I can't really show data if there's no data to back it, but I can still explain the other things, and they're usually always, a little cranky at first because they have to learn something new, but then they'll understand like, okay, well, if you do it this way, here's how much you'll get out of it. And everyone has like it's always been a success. So yeah, that's how I've been able to get their buy-in.
Yeah, I love that. It kind of goes back to what Gary always says with authorship is ownership, right? And
Hmm.
when people understand the why, then then we can assess easier and the when,
Hmm.
right? Like
Yep.
what's in it for me, right? How,
Yep.
yeah, because it can be like herding cats sometimes, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So you mentioned people, processes, and profit as your 20%. How do you
Hmm.
stay in alignment with your rainmaker year over year, or even month over month, or week over week in this process?
Yeah, that's a big one. A lot of it is just very, very open communication. So I meet with my rainmaker twice a week. So we have our my weekly 411, and then we have a business meeting. Um, and the business meeting is kind of where we go over our GPS review, team member headlines. We review the KPIs and kind of see where we are on track with our numbers. And then once a month, we also have a budget and financial meeting. At that meeting, we'll review the P&L and we'll kind of go over ROI on lead sources, just kind of so she's up to date on where all of those numbers are. And then honestly, I'm pretty sure we communicate every single day on other small things. So it's just a lot of really open communication of um, making sure she feels comfortable with where we are and why things are happening and letting her know in advance too of just, hey, as a heads up, this month we're going to have less closings because, that way at the end of the month when she sees our numbers, it's not a surprise. So just really, really open communication. But again, it's all time blocked for us too.
Yeah, so let's touch on that because I think that that's one of the things that we hear more times than not is we feel sometimes unaligned with our rainmakers or our tiers
Hmm.
or right, and it's or it's like chasing squirrels, right? It's like they're consistently coming back with new ideas, right? New initiatives, new projects.
Hmm.
How have you navigated that over the years?
Yeah, that is definitely a big one. For those of you who might know my rainmaker, Wendy Papasan does teach and speak a lot and goes to a lot of conferences. So this is probably a monthly conversation that she and I have. A big one is asking clarifying questions, right? So walk me through what this looks like to you. Walk me through how this is, how you see this happening. Um, just really understanding where she's coming from, because sometimes it's this great idea, and then it's like, okay, well, walk me through how that's going to work in our business model, and then we kind of have to break it down a little bit. She's a huge visionary and I'm a huge executor. So I like to break things down and implement processes. And so when she gives me these big things, sometimes I ask the questions and then I go, okay, let me think about this and figure out how we can work it in. And then I spend some time on my own trying to, break it down and really understand how we can implement it. And then at our next meeting, we'll kind of go into, hey, I don't think we can do this year, and we can go ahead and put it in our GPS for next year because, right? And you explain why. Or this is fantastic. I love this idea, and it's going to take me X time frame. Let's move into the GP, like let's put it into our GPS for next quarter. So it's kind of letting them know the why behind what you're saying. Like, are you going to do it this year? Are you not going to do it? And I've told my rainmaker, no, I can't do this, but here's why. So, it's not just a no, because it's not my business, it is her business, right? So I'm not going to tell her we're not doing something. But if we can't do it this year, we don't have the finances, we don't have the systems, whatever it might be, is just helping her understand why. And if we want to do it, here's everything we need to do first. So it's just clearly explaining all of that.
Yeah, I love that. So it's really about, it sounds like going really deep on understanding on why, how, when, right?
Hmm.
And and the other thing that I think is really helpful that because over the years, like one of the things I think has been really, really helpful for you all as an outsider watching you achieve your goals is the fact that you break them down quarterly, right? So a GPS or a 135 is like your business plan, right? And you do
Hmm.
it for the year. But then
Correct.
what do you do?
Yeah, so about 4 years ago, I want to say, we decided to go from an annual GPS to what's called the 12-week year. So we basically work in quarter systems. So it's 12 weeks, and then you have the 13th week to recover. Um, and it's really helped. I'm sure everyone on this call has been through a hecticness with the COVID market changes. And so when you're doing super well and you have high volume, you hit your goals, it doesn't really matter. But when that market crashed, a lot of our team members felt deflated. They felt like they were losing. We weren't winning the game, and we knew we weren't going to hit our goals probably in May. So it's like, well, what's the point for the rest of the 7 months? Everyone was getting really depressed. So we transitioned to the 12-week year to have smaller goals. So it's the quarterly goals, and then that 13th week is reflect on how you did or you didn't hit your goals, reflect, move on. Now you have a new set of goals to focus on for 12 weeks. So it's really helped our agents change their mindset. Ops doesn't really work on the quarterly systems because our goals are a little bit different, but it's really helped with the agents' production numbers. And every quarter we can work on something different, like database ads, appointments, under contracts. We have these fun competitions with everyone. So it's just, we're able to do a lot more within the 12 weeks as opposed to like a one annual goal. And we still track the annual stuff. It's just not what the agents are hyper focused on.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I love that. And then um Romy, I hope please give me grace on if I'm not saying your name right. Asked a great question in terms of right now, they are the transaction coordinator and admin with a future opportunity of being director of ops. So what is it like? What are the basics of building a team,
Mm.
versus like when you're actually there? And Athea, I'll let you answer. And yet I would say that the key is I'm going to just say what Gary always says is we want to start with the end in mind, right? What does he envision
Mhm.
a director of operations to do? What are the key problems that that role would solve, right? From a 20% perspective, and then work backwards, right? Okay, well,
Mhm.
how would we know when we're there, right? What would the size of the business be, right? Whether that's from a GCI, a transaction, a profit, right? Whatever KPI that we're looking at from that lens. And then where are we at today? And working backwards on what those necessary steps, because Athea has been in multiple roles and multiple roles,
Mhm.
has replaced herself in those roles, whether that's through virtual assistants, whether that's through people who are physically there and have a specific in-person opportunity, in order to be able to present the business as a whole of here's the goalpost, here's where we are, and here's how I'm presenting and I'm holding everyone accountable to what our goals are as a team.
Mhm.
What would you
Yeah,
add?
I think you kind of nailed it. What I was gonna say is exactly what you said is what is your rainmaker's end goal and what are their thoughts on what they want the team to look like and what is the problem that they need solved and then figuring out what that timeline is and then working backwards too. Because I think the timeline's also a big one of if they don't need that problem solved for 5 years, what does that look like? What do you need to accomplish in 3 years to hit the 5 year goal? What do you need to accomplish in 1 year to hit the 3 year goal to hit the 5 year? So I think that's a big one. Um, we redo like future visioning, part of the career visioning process. We redo that with our team members every year to kind of see where they see themselves and if we're still in line with where they want to go as well. So that's another one that might be good as well for you and your team.
Yeah, and I think that the key is that as we're, if we were all in person, right, and we were in a mastermind style, and I asked you all to write down your top 5 priorities of your job. What's so fascinating about the director of operations title is we all have pretty different things. Like
Yeah.
this is a very vast role. And yet, from a productivity standpoint of what this looks like in terms of people, profit, processes, that is what's going to help you get there faster and in alignment with
Hmm.
your maker to where you really, really start traction. So, with that being said, if we can go to the next slide, please. Athea, what are our next steps, right?
Yeah, so we have created a worksheet to kind of help you understand your 20%. So we'll send that out to everyone at the end of this. So fill that out. Define your most important systems that you're currently working with, and then really make sure you're in alignment with your rainmaker. So I challenge all of you to put time on the calendar, especially going into next year, of where do you see me next year? What are your goals for me next year? And then making sure that that's in alignment with where you think you should go too. So I would say that those are our next steps.
I love it. And if we go to the next slide and the next slide. I love it. Okay. Well, this has been Value Pack. Thank you, Athea, for your transparency. Why don't we put how they can reach out to you if they have questions or need further guidance in the chat? And while you're doing that, if y'all are looking to take your business to the next level, we do have operation coaching at MAPS. And so scan the QR code. And if that's something that, you really think to take your business to the next level, if you're like, man, Athea's goals, right? That's your next step would be hire a partner to get there, right? It's an investment. And it really gosh, Athea, the last 4.5 years, I feel
Oh,
like the growth from this lady right here, I mean, she's a completely different person in the best way possible.
yeah, and it's because of my partnership with you, honestly, Emily. I attribute it to our partnership and all the help that you've given me, the crazy phone calls I've had. I mean, I've broken down on our calls many times, but you really helped just let me work through my own problems and get clarity in my role, which has really helped me be able to succeed.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you as always. You've done the work. And thanks everyone for joining. We trust that this was helpful and have a happy holiday season. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.